Modern life is like a chaotic whirlwind where focus has become a luxury. We are swept up in the vortex of information, social media, and fleeting pleasures, forgetting the most important thing, ourselves. Several times over. If you don't control your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you will forever be a puppet of the outside world. By the end of this video, you will have a toolkit that not only helps shield you from distractions, but also steers you toward a life of purpose and control. If you appreciate what we're doing here, a simple, free favor you could do is hit that subscribe button and stick with us throughout the whole video. Trust me, you won't want to miss a beat. Let's unlock the secrets to living a focused, purpose-driven life. Taking charge of your life is more than just a power move. It's a necessary for anyone looking to break free from the relentless pull of modern distractions and pressures. You know, there's something incredibly empowering about realizing that you, and only you, have the ultimate say over your thoughts, emotions, and daily actions. It's like waking up one day and understanding that the reins of your life are and always have been in your hands. Now, Stoicism teaches us the importance of focusing on what we can control, our own actions and reactions. The ancient Stoics believed that while we can't control the world around us, we can control how we respond to it. Think about that for a moment. Every day we face a barrage of decisions: what to prioritize, how to respond to challenges, and where to invest our energy. If we don't make these decisions consciously, we're just reacting to what life throws at us. But when we start to take control, we're not just reacting anymore, we're acting with purpose and intention. And here's the real kicker: taking control of your life doesn't mean you have to do everything alone or become a lone wolf. Instead, it's about understanding your value, aligning your actions with those values, and setting boundaries that help you stay true to yourself. It's about recognizing when to say yes, and more importantly, when to say no. How often have you found yourself stretched too thin, committed to tasks or engagements that don't serve your ultimate goals? Each time you take on something that doesn't align with your core values, you're not just using up time, you're diluting your essence, your personal power. This act of taking control also intertwines with the concept of responsibility. Stoicism doesn't just teach us to endure life's hardships, but to embrace responsibility for our own lives, including our happiness and well-being. It's about accepting that if you want life to change, you must change how you live it. This might mean rethinking your daily habits, rethinking your commitments, and restructuring how you spend your time. Imagine the freedom that comes with this control. Suddenly, you're not at the mercy of your circumstances. You can choose how to react when things go awry and how to forge ahead with your long-term vision, no matter the short-term setbacks. This kind of mindset shift is powerful. It's not just about avoiding the negative either. It's about actively creating the positive, about making space in your life for the things that truly matter. And let's not forget about the peace that comes from this approach. When you're in control, there's a profound sense of calm that pervades everything you do. You're no longer caught in the tide being swept this way and that. Instead, you move through life with a stoic tranquility, knowing that come what may, you have the inner resources to handle it. Discipline and sacrifice might sound like big heavy words, zones that bring to mind grueling workouts or giving up all your favorite foods. But when you really think about it, these concepts are about creating a life that aligns with your deepest values and aspirations. It's about choosing your long-term well-being over momentary pleasures, and that's a powerful choice to make. When we dive into Stoic philosophy, we see a strong emphasis on self-control and the power of living according to reason rather than being swayed by fleeting emotions or desires. The Stoics weren't about denying themselves joy, but they were all about choosing a joy that lasts, choosing virtues that stand the test of time over quick fixes or superficial success. Building discipline is essentially building the muscle that helps you consistently make those choices. It's the practice of lining your actions with your values, day in and day out, even when it's not the easy thing to do. Now, let's talk about sacrifice. Sacrifice is often seen as giving something up, but in a Stoic sense, it's more about investment. You're not losing something, you're investing in something greater. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your ultimate goals, you're saying yes to something else that does. Want to build a business? That might mean sacrificing lazy weekends. Aiming to be healthier? That might mean passing on deserts. It's all about priorities, and making those tough choices consistently helps you build a life that truly reflects who you are and who you want to be. And here's the thing about discipline and sacrifice. They feed into each other. The more disciplined you are, the easier it becomes to make sacrifices because you're clear about what you're sacrificing for. It's not deprivation if it's a choice that leads you to a richer, more fulfilling life. In fact, that clarity and purpose can bring a profound sense of satisfaction and empowerment. It's like looking at a map and knowing you're on the right path. Even if the terrain is tough, you know where you're heading, and every step, no matter how challenging, is a step toward your destination. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That sounds great in theory, but it's not so simple in practice. And you're right, it's not simple, but it is straightforward. Decision plan doesn't complicate your life, it simplifies it. Think about it. When you have clear rules for how you live, rules you've set for yourself, based on what truly matters to you, every decision becomes easier. There's less hemming and hawing over every little choice because you already know what's important. You become more decisive, more free, and ironically more free. Free from indecision, from regret, and from feeling like you're not in control of your life. Embracing discipline and sacrifice also leads to greater self-respect and self-trust. Each time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you prove to yourself that you are reliable, that you are worthy of trust, and that you have what it takes to achieve your goals. That's a powerful foundation to build your life on. It's not about being rigid or harsh with yourself. It's about being honest about what it takes to live a life you can be proud of, and then having the courage to live it. So, while discipline and sacrifice might seem daunting, remember that they are the tools with which you carve out a life worth living. They are the practices that allow you to rise above the chaos of everyday decisions and distractions and focus on what's truly important. And in the grand scheme of things, that's not just important, it's everything. Building a disciplined life, a life where sacrifices are seen as stepping stones to greater achievement, is what Stoicism is all about. It's not the easy path, but it is the rewarding one. When you think about it, how we organize our days says a lot about what we value. A cluttered, chatty schedule can reflect the chatty mind or life. But a well-structured day where every task and every moment has a purpose, that speaks volumes about intentionality and focus. It's not just about getting things done, it's about making sure what we do matters, aligning our daily actions with our long-term visions. In Stoicism, there's a big emphasis on living deliberately. It's not enough to float along, reacting to whatever life throws at us. Stoics teach us the value of proactivity, of crafting our lives with the same care and attention that a sculptor might use when chiseling a statue from marble. And how do we do that? By carefully choosing how we spend our time and energy each day. Scheduling and focus aren't just productivity tools. They are fundamental practices that help us live more virtuously and purposefully. Think about your typical day. How much of it is spent doing things that truly resonate with your core values? How much is spent in distraction or in activities that don't really serve you? The truth is, without a clear schedule and a sharp focus, it's all too easy to drift off course. Our modern world is engineered to pull our attention in a million different directions. Notifications, the endless scroll on social media, the latest drama. It can all take away from time that could be spent on more fulfilling pursuits. This is where the art of focus comes in. Focus is not just a skill. It's a practice, almost a form of meditation. It's about bringing your attention back to the present moment and to the task at hand again and again, no matter how many times it wanders. It's about being present in your own life and scheduling. That's about priority. It's about deciding what's important enough to take up your time. A solid schedule protects your focus by creating boundaries, shielding your energy from the myriad of less important things that could otherwise obsess your day. Stoicism isn't just about enduring life. It's about enjoying it in a rational, thoughtful way. By setting a schedule that reflects your priorities, you're effectively mapping out a path to your best self. And by sticking to this schedule with focused intent, you're walking that path every single day, regardless of external circumstances. This kind of disciplined approach frees you from the tyranny of whims and impulses, and instead grounds your actions in your own chosen value. And let's not underestimate the peace that comes with this kind of structured approach. When you know what you need to do and when you're going to do it, there's a certain calm that settles in. You no longer need to fret about when you'll get to your tasks or whether you're making progress on your goals. Your schedule has it covered. This clarity and peace of mind are priceless. They allow you to fully engage with each task, each moment with full confidence that you're exactly where you need to be. So, how do we start? Begin by evaluating how you currently spend your day. Identify the time sinks, the habitual activities that don't serve your larger goals. Next, think about what you truly want to accomplish both in the short term and the long term. Now, craft your schedule around these insights. Block out time for the activities that drive you toward your goals and be ruthless about cutting out the distractions. Remember, focus and scheduling are skills, and like all skills, they improve with practice. The more you practice focusing on the task at hand and adhering to a well-thought-out schedule, the more natural it will become. Over time, what once felt restrictive will start to feel like freedom. The freedom to live a life that's fully aligned with your deepest values and aspirations. In a world that often seems obsessed with outcomes and end results, it's easy to forget that the journey, the process itself, is where the real magic happens. It's where we learn, grow, and truly make a difference in our own lives and the lives of others. We get so focused on the destination that we sometimes speed past the experiences that shape us, the moments where we find our true strengths and weaknesses. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. And while we can influence outcomes, we can't control them entirely. What we can manage every day settles our actions and attitude after the actions, and assess the process by shifting our focus from outcomes to the actions that lead to those outcomes. We gain a much deeper sense of control and satisfaction. It's not just about reaching the peak of the mountain. It's about becoming someone who can climb mountains at will. Think about it this way. If you were only fixed on getting to the top of a mountain, you might miss the lessons learned from the struggle of the ascent, the adaptation to the harsh winds, or the strategy needed to tackle the next climb. These experiences are invaluable. They don't just prepare us for one specific goal, but for any challenge that might come our way. In focusing on the process, we become versatile, resilient, and prepared. We become masters of adaptation, not just momentary champions. And here's something else to consider. When we focus solely on results, we're often tempted to take shortcuts. We might achieve our immediate goals, but at what cost? By valuing the process, we ensure that we are building something sustainable, that we're not just building a house of cards ready to topple over at the first sign of trouble. We're laying down a strong foundation, brick by brick, with our own hands. This approach breeds a type of integrity and authenticity that quick wins simply can't match. Moreover, by embracing the process, we learn to find joy in the everyday. Each step becomes rewarding, not just the moment of crossing a finish line. For Stoics, joy comes from performing each task with care and attention, from living according to virtue in the present moment, without being overly attached to the past or anxiously awaiting the future. This mindful approach frees us from the anxiety of what-ifs and if-onlys, allowing us to live fully in the now, appreciating each stroke of the brush as we paint the canvas of our lives. So, how do we make this shift in perspective? Start by setting small, process-oriented goals alongside your larger, outcome-based goals. For instance, instead of just aiming to lose weight, an outcome, set a goal to walk a certain number of steps each day, or to cook a healthy meal each evening, the process. Celebrate these small victories as fervently as you would the achievement of the final goal. Over time, these process goals will build habits, and habits build the kind of life you want to live, one day at a time. In erasing the process, we also cultivate patience, a virtue highly regarded in Stoic philosophy. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about maintaining a good attitude while working toward your goals, knowing that some things just can't be rushed. It's about trusting the process and being open to the lessons it teaches us. Sometimes, in the constant buzz of our social world, the idea of solitude can feel like a forgotten art. It's almost as if being alone has become synonymous with loneliness or isolation. But there's a profound difference between being lonely and embracing solitude. When we choose solitude, we're not just stepping away from the noise of the world, we're stepping closer to ourselves. It's in these moments of quiet that we often find our deepest clarity and strength. Stoicism, a fallacy that teaches the mastery of self through rational thought and emotional resilience, places great value on solitude. The Stoics understood that some of the most important conversations we will ever have are the ones we have with ourselves. In solitude, away from the influence of external voices and distractions, we can hear our own thoughts more clearly. We can reflect, plan, and connect with our deeper values and aspirations. This isn't about escaping from the world, but rather preparing ourselves to engage with it more effectively. Embracing solitude gives us the space to practice self-reflection, a key Stoic exercise. It allows us to examine our lives critically and compassionately, to relish our flaws and to celebrate our strengths. This kind of introspection helps us understand our motivations and correct our course if we find we've strayed from our chosen path. By regularly engaging in this practice, we build a stronger sense of self-awareness, which is crucial for personal growth and resilience. Moreover, solitude can be a powerful tool to strengthen our inner resolve. In the quiet, we are the sole architects of our thoughts. There is no crowd to sway us, no peer pressure to influence our decisions. It's just us and our principles. This environment is where we can best cultivate fortitude and endurance. It's where we learn to be self-reliant, finding comfort in our own payment and confidence in our own decisions. But how do we embrace solitude in a world that often fears it? Start small. Dedicate a few minutes each day to sit quietly with your thoughts. Maybe it's a morning routine where you reflect on what you want from the day, or perhaps an evening ritual where you ponder what you've learned and how you've grown. These moments alone are not about idleness. They are a place to reset pauses that can help recalibrate your mind and spirit. Remember, the goal of embracing solitude is not to disengage from the relationships and activities that enrich our lives. Instead, it's about creating a balance. Just as our bodies need rest after exertion, our minds benefit from quiet after the clamor. Solitude provides a sanctuary where our minds can rest and recover, gaining the strength needed to face the complexities of life with a calm and steady demeanor. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling smaller than when it started? It could be a moment when you felt like you had to explain yourself, apologize too much, or agree to something you didn't even want. It's subtle, but these habits can quietly chip away at how we're seen, and more importantly, how we see ourselves. You start wondering if you're coming off as confident or if others can sense the doubt you're trying to bury. The crazy thing about this is that insecurity isn't always obvious. It's not the shaky voice or nervous gestures we imagine. Often it's hidden in the little things we do, behaviors we barely notice, but that silently broadcast a fear of not being enough. And the truth is, we all fall into these traps at times. That doesn't make us weak, it makes us human. The key is recognizing these patterns and stepping out of them before they define us. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism comes in. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius remind us that strength isn't about proving anything to others. It's about being the best version of yourself. When you focus on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and values, you stop being a prisoner of what others might think. In this video, we'll uncover 5 common social mistakes that make you look insecure and explore how to replace them with quiet, steady confidence. This isn't about judgment, it's about growth. Let's get started. Seeking validation from others. Seeking validation from others often feels harmless, even normal. But beneath the surface, it quietly erodes our sense of self. Think about the times you've refreshed your phone, waiting for a notification or a comment to tell you that what you've shared is good enough, or that you're good enough. It might feel like a small thing, but those moments add up, and soon your confidence depends on external approval. The Stoics warned against this fragile foundation. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest minds in Stoicism, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Seeking validation hands that power over to others, making their fleeting opinions the measure of your worth. It's a trap, a never-ending chase that leaves you feeling emptier with each step. When you rely on external approval to feel valued, you're letting someone else decide what you deserve. Let's take this for example. Someone posts an achievement online, something they're genuinely proud of. At first they feel good, but as the hours pass and the likes come in slower than expected, doubt creeps in. Was it not impressive enough? Did they share it the wrong way? Suddenly, the pride they felt in their accomplishment is replaced by anxiety, all because they placed their self-worth in the hands of others. This isn't just about social media. It shows up in subtle ways, like constantly seeking compliments from friends or over-explaining your choices to make sure others approve. Stoic wisdom teaches us that this kind of validation is fleeting and unreliable. Epictetus said it clearly, "Freedom is the only worthwhile goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. True freedom and real confidence come when you stop chasing applause and start building approval from within." So how do you break free from this cycle? Start by shifting your focus inward. Reflect on the qualities you admire about yourself, the traits that define who you are when no one is watching. Are you kind, determined, or thoughtful? Hold on to these truths and let them guide your actions. When you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to live for yourself, and that kind of confidence can't be taken away. Trust me, I know it's not always easy, especially in a world that rewards external metrics like likes and recognition. But every time you resist the urge to chase validation, you're reclaiming a piece of your self-worth. It's not about shutting people out or ignoring feedback. It's about prioritizing your values over the opinions of others. When you live in alignment with those values, you'll find that the approval you once sought so desperately from others becomes irrelevant, because you'll already have it from yourself. Over-explaining yourself can feel like the polite thing to do, but it often reveals more than you intend. When you find yourself justifying why you made a certain choice, whether it's declining an invitation, expressing an opinion, or setting a boundary, you might think you're offering clarity. In reality, this habit signals uncertainty. The more you try to explain yourself, the more it appears you're seeking permission or approval for your decisions. The Stoics saw simplicity and clarity as virtues, not just in life, but in communication. Seneca believed there was strength in silence, in letting your actions and choices speak for themselves. Over-justifying, he would argue, is a way of handing over your power to others. It's as if you're saying, "Here's why I think I'm right. Please don't question me." But what if you could make your choices with quiet confidence, trusting that they don't need to be defended? Let's take this for example. A friend invites you to an event, but you're exhausted and know you need to rest. Instead of simply saying, "Thank you, but I can't make it," you launch into a detailed explanation. You tell them about your workload, your lack of sleep, and how you've been feeling run down all week. By the time you finish, you've spent 10 minutes justifying what could have been said in one sentence. What's the underlying message here? It's not just that you're busy, it's that you're worried they'll judge you for saying no. Confident individuals don't feel the need to over-explain. They trust their decisions, understanding that not everyone needs or deserves an elaborate justification. Over-explaining often stems from a fear of being misunderstood or disliked, but the Stoics remind us that other people's opinions are not within our control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." In other words, live according to your values and let your actions align with who you are. Those who matter will understand, and those who don't never will. Breaking the habit of over-explaining starts with mindfulness. Before you dive into an explanation, pause and ask yourself, am I clarifying something important, or am I overcompensating? If your reason for explaining is rooted in fear or the need for approval, try holding back. A simple statement, delivered with conviction, often carries far more weight than an elaborate justification. This doesn't mean you should be rude or dismissive. It's about trusting yourself enough to stand by your decisions without needing everyone to agree. Over time, you'll find that simplicity in communication not only feels freeing, but also earns you more respect. When your words are measured and purposeful, people listen, and when you trust yourself, you don't need the world to validate your choices. Avoiding eye contact is one of the simplest yet most profound ways we communicate. It says, "I see you, and I'm here." But avoiding eye contact, that whispers something entirely different. It can unintentionally signal fear, discomfort, or even dishonesty. For many, it feels safer to look away, to focus on anything else, when the pressure of connection feels overwhelming. But the truth is that avoiding eye contact doesn't protect you, it isolates you. The Stoics believed in living fully present, engaging with the world as it is, not as we fear it might be. Making eye contact is one way to embody that presence. When you hold someone's gaze, even briefly, you're acknowledging their humanity and affirming your own. It's not about staring someone down or asserting dominance. It's about connection, as Marcus Aurelius once reflected. If you seek truth, do not fear looking directly at it. Eye contact is an act of courage. It says you're willing to be seen. For example, let's say you're in a meeting and a colleague asks for your opinion. Instead of meeting their gaze, you look at the table, the wall, or even your own hands as you speak. You might think you're avoiding pressure, but what others see is uncertainty, or worse, indifference. This small act of looking away can create an invisible wall between you and the people you're trying to connect with. It's like hiding behind a curtain in a brightly lit room. Everyone can still see you're there, trying to disappear. Confidence isn't about being the loudest in the room or always knowing the right thing to say. Often it's in the quiet moments of connection. Steady eye contact shows you're comfortable with yourself and with the conversation at hand. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. Even in moments of discomfort, holding someone's gaze for a few seconds longer can transform the interaction. It shows respect, not just for them, but for yourself too. To build this habit, start small. In your daily conversations, challenge yourself to hold eye contact just a little longer than you normally would. If it feels unnatural at first, that's okay. Growth often does. Think of it as a practice in courage, in being fully engaged with the moment in front of you. And if it helps, remember this: steady eye contact isn't about showing others who you are. It's about reminding yourself that you have nothing to hide. Stoic wisdom teaches us to embrace what is within our control. Eye contact falls squarely into that category. It's a simple yet powerful act that speaks volumes about your confidence and self-assurance. When you meet someone's gaze, you're not just connecting with them, you're affirming your presence in the world. And there's no curtain thick enough to hide the kind of confidence that shines from within. Over-apologizing. The words "I'm sorry" carry weight, but when overused, they lose their meaning, and worse, can quietly chip away at your confidence. Over-apologizing isn't just a habit, it's a signal. Every unnecessary sorry you say subtly reinforces the idea that you're at fault, even when no one else believes you are. It's as if you're shrinking yourself, making room for others by undermining your own space. This habit, while often born out of politeness or fear of conflict, doesn't serve you. It limits you. Stoicism teaches us the value of responsibility, but not guilt. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, It is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. When you apologize unnecessarily, you place blame where it doesn't belong, on yourself. True accountability means owning your actions without the constant need for self-reproach. Apologies should be meaningful, reserved for when you've made a mistake or caused harm, and not scattered in every interaction like fallen leaves in the wind. Think of someone who enters a room and apologizes for interrupting, even if they haven't. Or a friend who says, "Sorry, I just wanted to share my opinion," as though speaking their mind is a burden. These behaviors, while seemingly polite, send a message. I'm unsure of my right to be here. Over time, this undermines how others see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. It erodes your confidence and creates a pattern where your presence feels like something you must constantly excuse. Now, try to think of the impact of breaking this habit. Instead of apologizing unnecessarily, take a pause before saying, "I'm sorry." Ask yourself, is this truly my fault? If the answer is no, replace the apology with gratitude or acknowledgement. For example, instead of "I'm sorry for being late," say "Thank you for waiting." Instead of "Sorry for asking," say "I appreciate your time." These subtle shifts transform how you communicate not just with others, but with yourself. Over-apologizing also affects how others perceive your competence. If you frequently apologize, even when unnecessary, people might start to doubt your confidence in your abilities. Think about it. Would you fully trust someone who constantly questions their worth through needless apologies? Strength, as the Stoics teach, lies in clarity and balance. Owning your actions without over-apologizing communicates both accountability and self-respect. Breaking this habit isn't about silencing yourself, it's about respecting yourself. Start with a simple exercise. For one day, make a conscious effort to track every time you say, "I'm sorry." Write them down. At the end of the day, review the list and ask yourself, which apologies were truly necessary? You might be surprised to see how many weren't. Once you've identified the pattern, begin replacing those unnecessary apologies with more empowering language. If you bump into someone, say "excuse me" instead of "sorry." If you make a minor mistake like spilling your drink, replace "I'm sorry" with "I'll fix it." These small changes add up, creating a stronger, more confident version of you. Self-respect grows when you stop apologizing for simply existing. It's not about being rude or avoiding accountability. It's about finding balance. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to focus on what truly matters, not on unnecessary distractions. Over-apologizing is one such distraction, pulling your energy away from meaningful growth. Confidence isn't loud or brash, it's steady and assured. By limiting your apologies to moments that genuinely require them, you not only communicate more effectively, but also remind yourself of your inherent worth. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to be heard. And most importantly, you deserve to live without carrying the burden of unwarranted guilt. Let your apologies be intentional, not habitual. Through this shift, you'll notice a change not just in how others respond to you, but in how you feel about yourself. It's a step toward living with the clarity and self-assurance that the Stoics revered. Trying too hard to be liked, trying too hard to be liked, often feels like walking on a tightrope, balancing your desires with the needs and expectations of everyone around you. You might agree to plans you don't want to attend, share opinions you don't truly believe in, or smile when you'd rather be serious, all in the name of avoiding rejection. This constant people-pleasing may feel like a way to maintain harmony, but in truth, it often backfires. What starts as a way to fit in eventually causes you to lose your own voice, your essence. You begin to feel like you're playing a role, not living your life authentically. The Stoics give us the best advice here. The greatest way to live with honor in this world is to be what we pretend to be. This quote from Socrates speaks to the heart of the issue. When you bend yourself to meet someone else's expectations, you lose sight of who you really are. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that being liked means being accepted. But Stoicism teaches us that true fulfillment comes not from external approval, but from living a virtuous, honest life. Trying to control how others see you is a fruitless endeavor. Instead, the Stoics advise focusing on your actions, thoughts, and values, letting go of the need for external validation. Think about a person who constantly agrees to plans they don't want to join. They say yes to dinner invitations they'd rather turn down, take on extra tasks they don't have the energy for, or nod along to opinions that don't reflect their own. The idea is simple: keep everyone happy, avoid conflict, and stay liked. But in doing so, they're losing themselves. It's like trying to bend a tree to fit the shape of someone else's view of beauty. The tree might grow that way for a while, but it can never be its true self. Over time, it becomes misshapen, and it's no longer the strong, resilient tree it once was. This is where authenticity comes into play. People-pleasing can cause you to dilute your values, shifting your behavior to suit the whims of others. But authenticity is what earns true respect. People respect those who stand by their beliefs and honor their boundaries, even if it means saying no when it's uncomfortable. When you're authentic, your value isn't dependent on what others think. It comes from knowing who you are and living in alignment with that truth. To break the cycle of people-pleasing, start with small steps. Begin by setting boundaries with simple no's. It could be something as small as turning down an invitation to an event you're not excited about, or respectfully declining to take on an extra project at work. It's not about being rude or selfish. It's about honoring your own time, energy, and values. Remember that setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about respecting yourself. Start with the small things, like saying no when you want to, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can simply be a quiet shift in your actions. You don't have to explain yourself, and you certainly don't need to justify your reasons. A simple, "I'm unable to commit to this right now," can be enough. The more you practice this, the more natural it will feel. Over time, you'll notice how this shift in behavior aligns you with your authentic self, and that's when the real change happens. The Stoics were masters of living authentically, grounded in their own values. They didn't bend to the whims of others, nor did they seek approval from the masses. They understood that true freedom comes from focusing on what you can control: your actions, your responses, and your mindset. As you learn to say no and set boundaries, you'll find that people start to respect you more, not less. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being self-respecting. Finally, remember that trying to please everyone will only dilute your value. When you're constantly shifting to meet the expectations of others, you forget what you truly stand for. The beauty of authenticity is that it's unshakable. No matter what happens, it stays true to who you are. You don't need to seek approval or bend yourself into a shape that doesn't fit. Instead, focus on your values, and the respect of others will naturally follow. The next time you feel the urge to people please, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself if this choice aligns with your values. Ask yourself if saying yes will truly add value to your life, or if it's simply a way to avoid discomfort. By letting go of the need to please everyone, you reclaim your authenticity, and in doing so, you strengthen your self-worth. The more you practice living true to yourself, the more your relationships will flourish. Not because you've bent to fit others' expectations, but because you've remained grounded in your own truth. Authenticity isn't about being liked by everyone. It's about being at peace with yourself, no matter who's watching. This is the Stoic approach to living a meaningful, confident life. And when you live authentically, you'll find that the respect and connection you seek come naturally, without the need to try so hard. Always remember that these 5 social mistakes, seeking validation, over-explaining, avoiding eye contact, over-apologizing, and trying too hard to be liked, are often driven by a fear of rejection, a desire for approval, or a lack of self-confidence. But the truth is, none of these external factors can truly define your worth. Real confidence comes from within. The Stoics, with their focus on self-control, authenticity, and living virtuously, provide a powerful framework for developing a mindset that is anchored in your values and not swayed by the opinions of others. By recognizing these habits and replacing them with behaviors rooted in self-assurance, you'll start to embrace a life of authenticity, respect, and true confidence. Remember, no one has control over how others perceive them, but you have the power to control how you see yourself and how you show up in the world. So stop seeking validation, trust your decisions, maintain eye contact, hold your boundaries, and embrace your authenticity. The more you live in alignment with your true self, the more fulfilling your life will become. Now, take a moment to reflect on these new perspectives and start applying them in your daily life. You've got this. Stay authentic, stay confident, and as always, keep striving for greatness.